Hello, welcome. It is time for Eurovision Semi-Final 2 thoughts. I uploaded my Semi-Final 1 thoughts probably last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I've lost track. And if you're new, every year, I do Eurovision thoughts on the semi-finals and on the grand final, and it is Friday afternoon and it's before the grand final, and I want to try and get this video, these thoughts up before the grand final results because I want to come in not knowing what's going to happen in the grand final. So we're going to crack on with it. I'm going to let you know I took down lots of notes, pages and pages of notes. So we're going to talk through each number and everything that happened in the second semi-final. And you're very welcome to leave your comments down below on your thoughts and your opinions and everything. One thing I'll say about this semi-final is that Wayne was here watching with me the whole time, more or less. And we were eating supper and we were occasionally talking to each other. So I might not have been as focused as I normally am, but you know, I still watched all of it. So, you know. When it started, my very first thought was, I can't wait to see the memes about Hazel's dress. It's going to be great. And I opened Twitter and it was great. Then we started with Australia. Now, I mentioned in the semi-final 1 video, as well as many other videos, I'm usually not rooting for Australia. I'm usually rooting for them not to go through because I don't really believe that they deserve what? They don't belong at Eurovision. That's my thought. But we'll get into this a little bit more later on. This is the first year I was actually hoping that they would go through. I felt they deserved it. I did like Tonight Again, but I think that one was already in the final because it was the first year. So when Australia started, I wrote, well, this is strange. And then towards the end of it, I wrote, I wasn't expecting this from Australia. And you know what? I thought they cracked it. I thought they had got the Eurovision vibe down, finally. So for them to finally do something Eurovision-y and then to not get through, I was a bit like, come on, guys. Then for Montenegro, when I realised the sleeping bag thing was part of her costume, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I didn't really get the point of it, but okay. And I just wrote fine for the song. It was fine. Neither good nor bad, just fine. Then Ireland, the woman started singing and it was not what I was expecting from her voice at all. I was expecting it to be more grounded, I guess. And then I wrote, I like the dances, but it's lacking a bit of energy. And then I wrote, I like his dance moves. I think he was the one on the DJ or something. He was sort of trying to do it one-handed or something. I can't remember, but I enjoyed it. And then I wrote, not against it, but just a bit flat. And I think I did like it, and I think I did want it to go through, but I just felt it didn't have the energy. I haven't listened to the recorded version yet, like the studio version, but I wonder a little bit if this is going to be like Still in Love with You from the UK, I believe 2015, where I loved the song and I still listen to the song to this day, but the on-stage performance just didn't have the drive and the energy, and I feel like this is a similar thing. Then for Latvia, I wrote, I like the headgear, I like the staging and the choreography. I'm not against it, and I think I do want this to go through. That was sort of towards the end. Then for Armenia, I wrote, this is just, I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up. I don't know the rest of the song, but it was just that song. And then I wrote, not totally against it, but don't love it. And then only later on did I realise he was on a treadmill, which I did think was quite cool. Then for Austria, when it started, I was like, well, that's not what I was expecting, both in terms of looks or in terms of like how I was expecting the song to start. And then in the opera bit, I was like, okay, that was unexpected. And then I just wrote, this is chaotic. And I'm very curious to watch this one again because it does have sort of, I think, high odds, or at least people that I see on Twitter seem to be quite fond of it. So I'm curious. Then there was a little interval bit and her being lifted, insane, incredible, so chaotic. I loved it. And I can't remember who said it or when, but the line was said, I feel like a fetus with disco on its mind. And Wayne and I both burst out laughing. I just wrote incredible in capitals. Like, it was so unexpected and so ridiculous and hilarious. I think it was Hazel as well. I love how unhinged Hazel is. Hazel is the Petra of this year. I love it. Then for the UK, I wrote, I like the costumes, what they're wearing. I thought they had very clean voices, which was to be expected considering they're musical theatre folks. And I think I've mentioned on here already, or maybe I haven't because I haven't spoken to you about Eurovision yet. But one of the representatives for the UK is Lauren Byrne, who I saw in Matilda a number of years ago. And at the time I said she was the best Miss Honey I've ever seen. And still to this day, I've seen another Miss Honey in the meantime. I still think Lauren Byrne just smashed it at the time. So it's very cool to be like, hey, I saw her on stage. I had the same with Lucy Jones back in, I think it was 2014. I'd seen her as Maureen like 6 months prior. Not even 6 months, it was the January. And then in May, she was the Eurovision representative. And I was like, that's really cool. So yeah, I have a connection with the musical theatre folk. Then I wrote, I like the harmonies, and I loved there was a moment where they went into like yeahs, I think, high-pitched yeahs, and I really enjoyed that. Again, it was very clean, gorgeous harmonies, just sung so well. I don't think it's the best song ever, but I just think they're very strong performers, and so I enjoyed that. And I kind of want to root for them, again, partly because they're musical theatre people, but also they just seem so happy to be there, and I value that. I really appreciate that. So yeah, I hope they don't come last. I hope they don't come last. Then for Greece, I've written, nice start, amazing vocal control. I don't dislike it. And then there was a costume change and I was like, ooh, cool costume change. Lithuania, all I wrote was strange, but not amazing. But clearly also not terrible if I said it was strange. So there must have been a part of me that did like it. And I can't remember now. Was that the one? No, maybe it was Latvia. The one with the 6 sort of very cool thing. I think it might have been Latvia, but I did enjoy that one upon reflection, so I'm not entirely sure now. For Malta, I wrote, that was very unexpected and strange, but I did like the pre-chorus. There was a bit, I can't remember now how it goes, but there was a bit before the chorus that I really liked. For Georgia, I wrote, the opening didn't match the opening singing. So maybe there was like a beat or something and then it slowed down, or vice versa, I'm not too sure. But then I wrote, awesome dancers, incredible dancers, and not a bad song, and I would like to see it go through. I don't think it did, which is a shame. For France, I wrote, pretty. Mira is cool. Very pretty sand falling. Oh yeah, at one point, sort of towards the end of the song, the sand was sort of twirling round her, and I thought that was very pretty. And then I wrote, I can imagine it's a logistical nightmare. This is like sand from last year. Imagine the cleanup. Like, oh, and also for her, like she'd be covered in sand. It'd be awful. But the final child voice saying mama, I was like, oh, that's nice. I like that. That's a good touch. Then for Denmark, I wrote, not against it, but not special, and pretty well sung. Czechia, I wrote, interesting. Oh wow, spider hand / mic. Oh yeah, because I thought it was on his hand, but actually I think it might have been on the mic. It was like spider shaped. It was very cool, weird. Then I've written, not bad, definitely don't dislike it. Ooh, I love the dancing, quite unexpected. And yeah, I like the dancers. Now I'm going to stop for a moment because my camera's about to die and I'm going to switch my battery and I'll be back. Yay. All right. Hello. Next up, Luxembourg. And I already liked that the title had Poupée in there because one of their other winning songs was, what's it called? Poupée de cire, Poupée de sang, I think. And then I wrote, the opening even sounded like that song, which upon reflection it obviously was meant to, but I didn't know at the time. Very early on, I wrote, I'm already enjoying this. Then I wrote, I like the dancers. Yeah, I like this. And I really like her outfit, which was like a side note. And then there was a costume change and I was like, oh, that was cool. And then I wrote, very nice high notes. And yeah, I really liked that. I was hoping to, now that Luxembourg's back in and it's only their second year back, I want them to be encouraged to keep coming back. I don't want them to leave again. And I want to root for their song and agree with rooting for their song rather than just the country. So I was glad that it was a song I actually really enjoyed. I'm not going to talk too much about Israel because I just know the discourse is going to be messy. But I was nervous when it started because I was just like, same as last year, I'm just expecting someone to get on the stage or do something. And I'm sure that there are very high security measures, but we've seen things happen in Eurovision before and I didn't want it to happen. But I did think it was a nice song. I thought it was a pretty song and I wasn't expecting her to sing in French. I'm pretty sure she sang in French. And I liked the white light at the end. That's all I'm going to say about that because I don't want Eurovision to be political and I don't want my platform to be political. So we're just going to leave it at that. So then for Germany, I just wrote, yes, instrument, yes, sheet. Don't hate it, but don't love it. I'm curious to watch this one again. I remember kind of liking it, but just being like, it's a bit weird. But I have no idea what I meant by yes, sheet. So that's another reason I'm curious to see it again. Serbia, I wrote, this just looks like one that will go through. Like just something about the way it's presented. It just feels like it's going to go through. And then I wrote, I don't dislike it, but I don't fully get it. And then for Finland, again, on the internet, I'd heard good things about it. So I was very curious. And her microphone was really long. And I just wrote, is that microphone really necessary? And obviously that gets explained, or maybe not explained, but there's a reason for it. Then I wrote, not against it. And then the flying, I was like, wow, okay, wow. And I also wrote in brackets, lots of flying this year. We've got lots of flying happening. And I thought that was quite cool. And then I wrote, and fire. Wow. So then my wants were Australia, Ireland, Latvia, Georgia, and Luxembourg. And my expected was Australia, Ireland, Latvia, Austria, Greece, Czechia, Luxembourg, Israel, Finland, and then either Malta or Serbia. Then there was a presentation. I can't remember fully now on what. I think it was about time. And I wrote, oh, this will be good. And it was okay. I did think it was beautiful. I wrote, this is actually really cool and beautiful, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as the first semi-final. Then for the Lost Acts section, where they sort of went back to the 2020 songs that never got their chance on a Eurovision stage. First of all, I thought it was great that they were going to do it, but my very first thought was they better have Iceland there. And they didn't. Then I wrote, oh, I'm so glad they're doing this. And then crazy that it's been half a decade. That's ridiculous. And then I wrote again, I'm so happy they're doing this. And then I wrote the dances for Cleopatra were amazing. They were so sharp and defined. It was so gorgeous. And then same again for Destiny. I just thought it was so beautiful. But I did think it was a shame that they had only invited people who had actually had a chance to perform at Eurovision the year later, like in 2021. I think it would have been nice for them to reach out to the performers that literally never got their chance on a Eurovision stage, not just the songs. But anyway, then it was time for the results, and I just wrote, ooh, I'm nervous, and I don't even really need to be. Like, there weren't many stakes in this one for me, but I was still nervous. I think also because when I was writing my want and expect lists, I didn't feel like I could get anywhere close to 10. So I didn't have a good idea of like what was going to happen. I definitely enjoyed the second semi-final significantly less than the first. But anyway, the first split screen was Luxembourg, Australia, and Lithuania, and I wrote, I hope Luxembourg. And when it was Lithuania, I was very surprised. I did not have that on any lists. Then it was Israel, Czechia, and Montenegro, and I was kind of relieved that it was Israel and that they weren't going to have to keep showing Israel. Because again, I just don't want politics. Anyway, then it was Armenia, Malta, and Serbia, and I didn't really want any of those, but it was Armenia, and I was just like, okay. Then it was Denmark, Ireland, and Latvia, and I wrote, I hope it's Ireland, but it was Denmark, which was not unexpected. Then it was Malta, Austria, and Greece, and for that one, I wasn't super surprised. I just kind of wrote, yeah, that's kind of expected. Then it was Ireland, Serbia, and Luxembourg, and when it showed those three, I realised all three of those were either on my want, or my expect, or both lists. So I was like, I'm not too sure what's going to happen here, but then it was Luxembourg, and I was like, yeah, I was happy with that. Then it was Finland, Czechia, and Georgia, and I wrote, surely it's going to be Finland out of those three, and it was, and the crowd was very loud, so I wrote, wow, loud crowd. Then it was Greece, Latvia, and Australia, and I wrote, I guess I want Australia, which really confused me. That gave me like a identity crisis. I was like, what's going on here? But it was Latvia, and I wrote, okay, fair enough. Malta, Montenegro, and Georgia, I wrote, oh, maybe Malta out of those three, and it was, and so I wrote, yay, look at me go. And then, with only one left to get in, I was just like, I truly have no idea which of the rest are going to go through. And so I was trying to write down which one I thought it might be. So I wrote Czechia maybe, or Ireland, or Australia, oh, or maybe Greece. And then it was Greece, so I wrote, yeah, okay, interesting. So the results from this one were very unexpected. I only got 3 out of the 6 that I wanted and 7 out of the 11 that I expected. So yeah, it was just a bit of a strange one, a little bit unexpected. But it leaves me very curious about the finals because people seemed to really like the second semi-final, whereas I really felt like I much preferred the first. And I'm just wondering if there are things that I missed or that I will enjoy more a second time round. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, and I'm very excited for the grand final. And hopefully I will get a video up next week or the week after with my grand final thoughts. But before then, please do feel free to leave comments down below, as I said earlier, about any opinions or thoughts or things you agree or disagree with. I am very happy to hear it all and see it all and discuss it. I love discussing things and I love having differing opinions, so I'm very curious to hear what people have to say. And I'm very curious about who's gonna win. In fact, I should make predictions. No, I'm gonna, well, anyway, that'll be in the next video. All right, bye.